to use in spaceflight because you don't need an ignition source. So we use those propellants to maneuver Dragon on orbit, and those propellants power the Draco engines as well as the 8 Super Draco engines that would be utilized in the launch escape system in an abort scenario.
And again, we want to be crystal clear. Now that fueling for Falcon 9 has started, that means that the 8 Super Draco engines built into Crew Dragon are ready, if needed, to launch the capsule away from the Falcon 9 rocket in an instant if there is any kind of emergency associated with the rocket or on the pad. Now let's go over to SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne for an operations update. John?
All right. Hopefully that.
We're counting down those final minutes, and everything is still looking good for Falcon 9 and Dragon for an on-time launch just under 33 minutes from now. As you heard, Falcon 9 began propellant loading right on time at T-minus 35 minutes.
Nice.
Now the propellants that feed the Merlin engines that power Falcon 9 are 2 liquids. One liquid is the fuel, the other is an oxidizer. And that fuel is a refined form of kerosene, also referred to as RP1. Now our oxidizer is densified liquid oxygen, also called LOX. Densified means it is kept much colder than typical for launch vehicles.
All right, I adjusted a couple settings, and hopefully the stream's a little bit more stable.
Now to ignite the fuel and oxidizer in the Merlin rocket engine, we use an ignition fluid called T-Tab. When T-Tab comes in contact with oxygen, it ignites, and it gives off a green-colored flame. Once we've got the flame going, we can then add the kerosene fuel into the chamber, and the engine goes to main power. You might see the green flash just as the second stage engine ignites, following stage separation 2 minutes 48 seconds into tonight's flight. Now currently we're early in the propellant loading. The first stage fuel tank is about 10% full, and that first stage is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle. You can see on your screen. You've got the black carbon fiber landing legs, then the white propellant tanks of the first stage, topped off by that black cylinder of the inner stage. Now liquid oxygen loading is also underway on the first stage. That loading will begin on the second stage, which you can see on your monitor, which is the cylinder, the white cylinder just above that black.
Yeah, I'm getting green bars instead of red, so that's better.
Begins at T-minus 16.5 minutes. And we'll continue loading liquid oxygen on both stages until the last few minutes of the countdown.
Yeah, we'll see.
Helium loading into pressure vessels is also underway. We use that to pressurize the tanks in flight as the propellant is pulled out by the Merlin turbopumps. Now on board the Dragon spacecraft, the astronauts are monitoring systems while propellant is loaded into the Falcon 9.
The helium's being loaded.
Now letting the crew know that helium loading is going on the vehicle right now. So as I mentioned, the astronauts that are listening to this right now, as part of their training in the simulator, we also can give them the playback of sounds that we've recorded in Dragon Capsule during recent flights. Plus, they also had a discussion with Bob and Doug after their flight, who related what their flight experience was like earlier this year. Now out on the Eastern Range, we continue to hear they're green, ready to go. There are no problems.
I keep messing with my phone here, watching
finally, the weather, as I mentioned a little while ago,
as well. Any kind of
we're down to 20% probability
possible announcements.
The biggest thing we're watching is just in case in these last half hours,
Stream should have it too, so
might spring up within a mile or two of the launch pad. But currently, the rain looks like it's holding off. The upper altitude winds are good, and the ground winds are very light. Now, as a reminder, today we have an instantaneous launch time. So at this point, if we hear a hold for any reason, we'll have to stand down and target our backup launch opportunity just under 3 days from now. But let's turn it over to Jesse and Leah for an overview of events after liftoff.
Thanks, John. For Crew-1, the astronauts' flight to station will take about 27.5 hours, and their journey is much longer, but fairly similar to the trip NASA astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken made earlier this year in Crew Dragon's first mission with humans aboard.
As we await T0 in just about 29 minutes, the ground operations teams are doing a series of system checks to make sure both Dragon and Falcon 9 are ready for launch. You're looking at a live view of our teams at the Cape as they prepare for liftoff.
Now, as we wait for the launch clock to hit 0, we wanted to give you an overview of what the ascent portion of the mission will look like.
Once we hit T0 and a successful launch occurs, we will watch Falcon 9 and Dragon lift off from historic launch pad 39A and make their ascent.
At about 50 seconds into flight, Falcon's 9 engines will throttle down to help pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket, or what we typically refer
They've
to
got a
as
few more
max Q.
graphics this time
It's worth
around.
noting that once we hit max Q, the vehicle will be going supersonic.
Once we are through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, we can throttle up our Merlin engines again. And from there, at about 2.5 minutes into flight, we have a series of 3 events that will happen in rapid succession.
First is MECO, or main engine cutoff. This is where all 9 Merlin N1D engines shut off in preparation for stage separation, which is our second event. This is where the first stage detaches from the second stage, with the first stage making its way back to Earth for landing, as the second stage continues on its journey with the third event. SES, or second stage engine start 1, is where the MVAC engine lights up and propels the second stage along with our Crew-1 astronauts to orbit.
As Stage 2 heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit, Stage 1 will execute 2 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first is the entry burn, where 3 of the M1D engines will reignite and then shut down. This helps to slow the stage down in preparation for entry back into the Earth's atmosphere.
While the first stage is heading back to Earth, the second stage will cut off its 1 Merlin engine that was ignited right after stage separation. Once this happens, we will wait for confirmation of a good orbital insertion.
And about 90 seconds after Dragon gets into orbit, Falcon 9 will land back on Earth. The landing burn, which is a single engine burn, will bring the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship about 9.5 minutes into the mission.
While Falcon 9 first stage is landing, Dragon is preparing to separate from the second stage. At about 3 minutes after the second stage gets into orbit, we should have a great view of Dragon with its 4-person crew drifting away from the second stage. Once Dragon is a short distance away, it will begin checking out its Draco maneuvering thrusters to make sure Dragon continues to increase separation distance from the second stage. It's worth noting that these are not the Super Draco engines that would be used during an abort scenario.
About 40 seconds after separation, Dragon's nose cone deploy sequence will begin. It will take roughly 4 minutes for the nose cone hooks to unlatch and open, exposing its guidance navigation controls, or GNC, that will help Dragon autonomously fly to the space station.
And lastly, once the nose cone is deployed, the remaining Draco thrusters on the forward bulkhead will be checked. From there, over the next 27.5 hours, Dragon will begin its approach phase, undergoing a number of phasing burns as it makes its way to station.
It's really surprising that they've gone through all the different things about the vehicle. Much more than demo, too.
Confirmation stage 2 cryo-helium being
But
loaded now.
I think a lot of people were just excited to see people getting into space from American soil versus now we're getting a lot of the extra details because this is going to be more routine.
Astronauts aboard Crew Dragon. We want to go over to NASA's Garvey McIntosh. He is standing by in Japan to speak live with the president of JAXA. Garvey, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Marie. Hello, I'm here in Tokyo, Japan. This is Garvey McIntosh, and I'm going to interview JAXA President, Dr. Hiroshi Yamakawa. Dr. Yamakawa, konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Could you tell us about the partnership between JAXA and NASA?
Oh, thank you very much for your question. The U.S. and Japan have built a close relationship in the aerospace field for more than 50 years. And NASA and JAXA have been collaborating in many fields.
Obviously, he gave the all these questions that he was going to interview prior, so they could do some scripted answers. But
U.S. commercial spacecraft. This shows a trust relationship between the two countries. We recognize that this mission is an important milestone toward future
probably pretty common.
We will firmly support him from the ground.
Thank you very much. Could you tell us a little bit more about today's mission and what the mission represents for Noguchi-san?
Well, as the first Japanese astronaut on board 3 different spacecraft, Space Shuttle, Soyuz, and Crew-Dragon, I'm sure he will play an outstanding role based on past experiences. Experiments on the ISS are expected to contribute to the advancement of people's lives on Earth. Both protein crystal growth experiments in microgravity environment may lead to the development of new medicine. Japanese private companies are also getting to use the experiment module keyboard for the initiatives. We expect that we will around the utilization of people. Thank you.
Thank you. And last question, looking a little bit towards the future, I know recently Japan, along with 7 other countries, including the United States, recently signed the Artemis Accords. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Artemis Accords and what that means for future space exploration?
Well, last month in October, the Japanese government signed the Artemis Accords, representing a strong partnership as one of the first countries to join in the future international space exploration. Well, I think Japan has expertise in human and robotic space technologies accumulated through our experience, TV, and IABSA-2. And we continue to move forward with technical considerations with NASA and other international partners. In addition to the field of human spaceflight, we will continue and deepen our cooperation with NASA and our international partners in order to explore the new era of space and to put a contribution to our society on Earth. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you for your time this morning, and I'll pass it back
Thank
to
you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so we just took a look at numbers across all of our social channels, and there are over 500,000 people tuning into this broadcast right now. And the hashtag LaunchAmerica is trending at number 20 on Twitter, last time we checked. And Marie, Kate, Nicole,
Last time
I've
you
got some
checked.
great photos rolling in, and I have a few that I just have to share right now. So take a look at this first one. We've got this little explorer asking if there's room for one more on the mission.
Aww.
I know, let's go to the next one. We've seen so many cute space pups today, and this corgi and its little NASA onesie is just the icing on the cake.
Yes.
That is pretty funny and cool.
Okay, let's go next.
Oh, there we go.
This little patriotic astronaut holding the flag. Now, y'all, this one definitely made me pretty emotional the first time I saw.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Check out how awesome Kiana looks in her blue flight suit, and I mean, wishing her hero, Victor Glover, well on his LaunchAmerica mission. So, you've seen it there, and for those of you at home, thank you for sharing a piece of what this mission means to you with us. And in these final moments, let's check in with Shaniqua at Mission Control in Houston. Shaniqua, what's the latest?
Thanks, Tahira. The space station team here in Houston is focused, and critical systems on the station continue to function normally. The teams have verified the command path from the ground up through the constellation of communication satellites to the station. Everything is nominal, and the station will be ready to receive Dragon tomorrow. NASA Flight Director Anthony Varia has been
Should be close to closing some of the either the first or second stage out. I forget which. As far as prop load, probably the first stage.
We protect the crew, we will protect the vehicle, and we will perform our mission. We remain tough and competent. We operate with resilience. Anthony and team are on console here in Mission Control.
About 5 minutes till they'll have the second stage.
A reminder that a launch today will take about 27.5 hours to get to station. Docking Monday to the Node 2 forward port scheduled at 10 p.m. Central Time, 4 a.m. GMT. Once Dragon is fully docked to the station, the team here in Houston will assist the Dragon and SpaceX station. Space Station astronauts with leak checks as they work to open hatches on both Dragon and inside the station's pressurized mating adapter. We expect hatch open to take approximately 2 hours after docking. That's it for us here in Mission Control Houston. I'll send it back over to the team in Florida. Marie?
All right, thank you so much, Shaniqua. We are inside of T-minus 19 minutes until launch. So exciting. We started the day with 50% probability of launch, and now we're up to 80% chance.
Those
for weather
plexiglass
cooperating.
shields.
So we are so excited. I know we're going to be turning our attention solely to the pad and going over to Hawthorne to take us through the final count, but one thing that really stuck out to me earlier, and I wanted to mention, when Shannon was talking about her path to becoming an astronaut, she talked about how she was 4 years old when she decided that that's what I want to do. And it really stuck out to me because my 4-year-old daughter is watching and she's dreaming about becoming an astronaut. And it's so special for, I think, especially for little girls, maybe I'm biased, but to be able to have a role model like Shannon and like you, Nicole. Because at the time when Shannon was 4 years old, women weren't astronauts. And what an amazing time to be in when little girls have women to look up to, and African-American children have Victor Glover to look up to and see that, they're represented and they can do this too.
Yeah, and I think NASA and the world of space exploration, from the human spaceflight side for sure, has been, over the years just so progressive in understanding how this diversity is so important. And I love thinking about your 4-year-old daughter watching launch tonight and being excited about this. And I'm thankful to be here tonight with you two ladies kind of representing.
I'm super excited. I have seen SpaceX launches before. I've seen shuttle launches before, but I've never been this close to the launch pad. And my palms are sweaty with excitement. And it's going to be incredible. Night launches here, they just light up the sky. And so I'm super excited, and I can't even imagine, I think a lot about Victor Glover this evening, because as we said before, this is his first time going to space. He has thousands of hours as a test pilot, like a super impressive resume, and this is his first time going to space, and I'm so excited for him to be part of this mission and get to go to the ISS after a long wait.
Yeah, and that is a beautiful destination. Let me just tell you that the 4 of them are going to, do amazing work there. And it's been mentioned a couple times before, this partnership that we have that's allowing us to do such incredible things that are just ultimately about improving life on Earth. Very
Absolutely.
cool.
And Nicole, I think it's worth mentioning, we didn't talk about this earlier, and I know you are a very humble person and you're focused on the crew that's on the pad right now, but you are the last resident International Space Station crew member to launch from and then land back on U.S. soil. So I think that's significant.
Yeah, as a shuttle crew member, and it's kind of weird to think that was that long ago, but I don't think any crew members goes into it thinking about what first or last it is.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, having worked at Kennedy Space Center for 10 years as a NASA engineer, and to be able to support a mission like that and be here watching this tonight, really historic event. This is the place where we learn, that there is a solution to every challenging problem. And in the words of a person I mentioned earlier, Mr. Honeycutt, here's how we can, not why we can't. And that's what we saw go on tonight as well.
Absolutely. And with T-minus 15 minutes, 10 seconds and counting to liftoff, we want to focus in on the pad as we proceed through the final stretch of the countdown. We will turn it over to Hawthorne to take us through launch at 7:27 this evening, Eastern Time. John?
Thanks, Marie. As Marie mentioned, everything is looking good for launch of Falcon 9 and Dragon. It's going to come at 27 minutes and 17 seconds after the hour, just a little under 15 minutes from now. We began propellant loading on Falcon 9 on time at T-minus 35 minutes. You may have heard earlier the call out, the fuel is completely loaded on the second stage, so the RP1 kerosene fuel is complete. We also got the start right on time 2 minutes ago of liquid oxygen loading onto the second stage. Now on the first stage that you can see with the white plumes coming off of it, fuel loading is continuing. We're about half complete with fuel load. That'll finish in 8 minutes at T-minus 6. Now densified oxygen, the liquid oxygen, continues to load on the first stage. That'll come down and finish about T-minus 3 minutes. And then, as I mentioned, the second stage has just begun liquid oxygen loading just 2.5 minutes ago. That will continue all the way down to T-minus 2 minutes. Now currently, eastern range is go. Everything continues to look good. And the weather, as we said, has continued to cooperate. You can talk about it, you can't do much about it, but tonight it looks like all conditions are good on the weather. And finally,
Awesome.
Dragon. The Dragon mission director and team, they are reporting no issues. They've completed the communication checkouts earlier in the countdown. You can see the crew access arm is retracted away. What you have left now is just the strong back alongside of Dragon you can see on your monitors. We have armed the launch escape system. The crew is strapped in and they are ready to go. Their next major event's coming up at T-minus 10 minutes. They're going to get final instructions relayed to them. The crew displays will be configured for launch, and that allows the crew to get insight into how launch is proceeding and provides constant updates on vehicle health to the crew that you can see on the right-hand side of the monitor. The crew will also at that time close their visors in preparation for launch. Now at T-minus 5 minutes, we'll be in terminal count, and Dragon will transition to its internal battery power. We'll hear continued callouts on the countdown net as we get close to 0 and to liftoff. But right now, 12.5 minutes to go, everything looking good. Leah and I will be commenting, but we're going to let you listen into a lot of the discussion and just enjoy the last 12 minutes of the countdown.
I know that this is likely delayed,
17 seconds after
and then, of course, I'm delayed for you, slightly.
So exciting. Only 12 minutes
So,
and 18 seconds until liftoff now. And just some things that you can...
I'm probably about 30 seconds behind from the actual event, but that's okay.
After liftoff. These are SpaceX flight controllers.
We're having
They're
fun.
reporting the trajectory, the speed, the booster performance, and some of the key milestones for Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon on the way uphill. It's about a 9-minute ride to orbit, and a few minutes after that is when we'll see Crew Dragon separate from the second stage and begin flying free on its own. Some of those other calls you'll hear upon liftoff are number and letter combinations. These mark different abort zones throughout the flight. The first two are 1A and 1B. This signifies they're in the first stage, and that will last until they're up to the very north of North Carolina. The next are 2A through 2E or 2 Echo. Those will come into play once the second stage kicks in. That lasts from the top of North Carolina all the way to the tip of Newfoundland in the northern Atlantic. There's also a spot we want to avoid in the northern Atlantic, and so you might hear the call Shannon or forward to Shannon. Of course, that's not to be confused with our crew member, Shannon Walker, today, but that actually refers to Shannon, Ireland. It means they would target off the coast of Ireland if they were later in that second stage and needed to abort. But that next call out we're listening for to the crew should come up at T-minus 10 minutes that the crew displays. Those 3 panels in front of our astronauts will be configured for launch. Now just 10 minutes and 35 seconds to go until liftoff.
Wow. Pretty crazy.
Also, as John I mentioned, that stage 2 fuel...
I almost want to switch to the other mic for the actual liftoff, because you'll probably get a lot better audio
Then on the first stage, about 85%.
of the stream that way. I plan on kicking up the volume just a little.
Dragon SpaceX confirmed crew displays are configured for launch.
And SpaceX, this is Dragon. Displays are configured for launch.
Copy, Resilience. We're honored to have you as our crew as we begin operational missions to the ISS. Have an amazing trip, and know that we are all for one.
Thanks, Jay. And to all the people at NASA and SpaceX, by working together through these difficult times, you've inspired the nation, the world, and in no small part the name of this incredible vehicle, Resilience. And now it's time for us to do our part, Crew-1 for all.
Okay, all. Thanks, Hopper.
Crew-1.
That was the voice of Commander Mike Hopkins confirming those crew displays are configured, and that T-minus 10 minutes was another check.
That is pretty nice that they named Crew-1
check of a wide variety of the Falcon system
for...
data to make sure we are go.
I mean, if you look at the mission patch, there are no names on it.
7 minutes when the pre-valves open.
They really trying to put symbolism in that, which is pretty cool.
T-minus 8 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. As Liam mentioned, the next major event at T-minus 7 minutes, we will open the pre-valves. Currently, the Merlin engines on the first stage are isolated by valves.
It was pretty crazy watching the demo too,
and with the
first
Merlin
launch.
Engines. We'll open the pre-valves. That'll allow us to begin passing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the inlet of the turbo pumps. That'll chill them down to get them ready for when we bring the pumps up to full speed at T-minus 2 seconds. We want to make sure that the pumps are chilled so that there's not any opportunity for the liquid oxygen to possibly get in contact with a warm pump and turn into gas, something you want to avoid on a turbo pump.
Yeah.
7 minutes and 40 seconds now till liftoff. We're still watching those fuel levels tick up, and in the first stage, we're almost at 100% of that densified kerosene. As we mentioned, second stage is full. First stage fueling should be complete for that RP1 at about T-minus 6 minutes.
Here at venting the
Standing by for
load
pre-valve
lines.
Stage 1 engine chill has started.
And there's the call out. Stage 1 engine chill has started. Indicates that we are opening the pre-valves. Liquid oxygen now beginning to flow slowly through the turbo pumps on the Merlin 1D first stage engines.
Next call out should be in about 30 seconds from now. We'll be looking for stage 1 RP load complete. That's the densified kerosene, that fuel on the first stage, already full on the second stage.
I'm going to over.
Liquid oxygen. About 2 minutes prior to liftoff on the second stage.
Let's see if that it's any better or worse. I don't know.
For that fuel call.
Stage 1 fuel load is complete.
I know this
Okay,
is like
right on time. And a great view of Dragon. Sitting on top of the Falcon 9 as we're continuing to load liquid oxygen onto both the first and second stages. The RP1 kerosene fuel is now completely loaded on both stage 1 and stage 2. All continues to go well, just under 6 minutes to launch. A great view of Dragon. Sitting on top of the Falcon 9 as we're continuing to load liquid oxygen.
In about 30 seconds, we'll enter terminal count. Dragon's onboard computers will take
I'm not
control
sure
of the vehicle.
the audio is any better or worse with that
Fuel on
versus
first
the
and second stage is complete, and liquid oxygen loading continues
my other
with the
mic
second
here.
stage at about 80%.
I think
First
this
stage
one
at
captured the actual
95%.
launch
Something
sound
else
better.
You might notice is water rushing the pad shortly before liftoff. That's to suppress the sound and keep any sound from imparting a load on Crew Dragon as it prepares to lift off.
Dragon is in configure for terminal count. Dragon is on internal power.
Dragon should be switching over to startup.
Pressurized and for strong back retract.
Good confirmation that Dragon is on internal power, and now we'll be looking for a major milestone before we launch today. That'll be the strong back retract. John, you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, Leah, if we get a close-up of the Dragon at second stage.
Strong back is retracting.
We've heard the call out, strong back retracting. That's a two-step sequence. First, there are clamp arms around the very top of the second stage. You can see one of them just above the gaseous oxygen vapors coming
right
out
there.
of the second stage. Those arms will open up, and then just inside of T-minus 4 minutes, once the arms are released, we'll begin to retract
You
the
see it
strong
moving
back
there.
alongside the vehicle. It'll move back 2 degrees in position, and by about T-minus 3.5 minutes, we ought to be finished with that. The strongback will retract to 45 degrees away from the rocket once we hit T0 as part of the liftoff sequence.
Alright, clamps are back.
And at T-minus 3 minutes, we will
Right now we're waiting for the retract.
And it's tilting.
And there you can see the strongback is beginning to move away from the vehicle.
And stop. Looks good. We're go. We're green.
It looks like we are just about into the required pre-launch position, just a couple degrees away from the Falcon 9 and the Dragon capsule. But right now, T-minus 3 minutes, 8 seconds, everything continues to be go on Dragon and Falcon 9.
currently standing.
Dragon is in terminal count.
And Dragon is in terminal count, and we are standing by to hear that Stage 1 liquid oxygen loading is complete. Stage
1 LOX load is complete.
And there we have it, and Stage 2 should finish shortly after, at about 2 minutes prior to liftoff.
So now, the last major event is finished liquid oxygen loading on Stage 2. Wraps up at about T-minus 2 minutes. Then at about T-minus a minute and a half, we have to drain back and vent down the liquid line that goes up the strongback alongside the Falcon 9. If you see a large white cloud about midway down around the rocket, that's normal. That's again just the gaseous oxygen hitting the warm, moist Florida air.
Less than 2 minutes.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
Awesome.
Dragon is in auto idle.
And good calls that Stage 2 liquid oxygen load is complete. That means we have full fuel on the first and second stages, that densified kerosene, and we're full of the oxidizer.
Oh, I'm ready.
Oxygen on the first and second stage as well.
Yeah,
now
this
just a minute
is
and 20 seconds until liftoff today.
This is a
And
critical
as you can hear
point.
those sounds,
I mean, all this is
like she
critical.
said, the vehicle is alive.
But
Coming
I
up
mean,
in 10
once you have
seconds, we'll
that,
look to hear that
everything's
Dragon is
loaded
in
up and
countdown.
it's about ready to go. I
The
mean,
Falcon 9 is in startup.
since startup is in control of the countdown to the launch.
Dragon is in countdown. FDS is armed. Falcon 9 is in startup and it's now controlling.
So up until this
50
point,
seconds
if there's
now
anything
until
that goes
liftoff.
wrong, it'll just stop, and
That
then they'll have
FDS you
to
heard is flight
dump
termination.
SpaceX, go for launch.
dump the fuel, but
SpaceX, this is Resilient.
hopefully not.
Go for launch, and at 37 seconds, the International Space Station flying over Kennedy Space Center.
All for one, Crew-1 for all.
Crew Dragon poised to go catch it.
Let's go
20 seconds
resilience.
till liftoff.
T-minus 15 seconds. Falcon 9 is configured for flight. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
And resilience rises. Not even gravity contains humanity when we explore as one for all.
Just wait for it. The base will kick in just a moment.
M1 propulsion is nominal.
That's the word we want to hear. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal. It's 30 seconds into this historic mission, flying crew on board Dragon and
So
Falcon
awesome.
9. Stage 1 is preparing to throttle down. This is in preparation for max Q, which is maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Stage 1, throttle down.
Alright, I
For throttle down.
had to kick up the volume
Power
there.
and telemetry continue to be nominal for the vehicle, now traveling at 262 meters per second.
Supersonic.
call out the
It's
Falcon
very
9
good so far.
supersonic, and we will be passing through max Q here shortly, the largest structural load during ascent.
Max Q.
And there's that call out.
Hope it's a
That
good
Falcon
ride
has
for him.
passed through
It's
And we've just entered Stage 1 Bravo abort mode. That's going to take them through the end of the first stage burning just before second stage activates off the coast of North Carolina.
it's good.
T+1 minute and 40 seconds into flight, Dragon and Falcon 9 traveling 709 meters per second. That call that MVAC chill is underway, the Merlin vacuum engine.
That'll be the engine on stage 2 once
With
they
the call
separate.
out of MVAC de-chilling, similar to what we saw in the first stage Merlin engines, the second stage engine being prepared for its ignition coming up in just over 30 seconds from now. We're a half a minute away from 3 quick events in rapid succession. We're going to get main engine cutoff. The 9 Merlin engines will throttle down and then shut down. We're going to get stage separation.
Stage 1 throttle down.
And then ignition of the second stage engine. We've begun the throttle down in preparation for stage separation.
There's inside the stage.
And we have
2 Alpha.
stage separation confirmed.
That's awesome.
And you see that
And
stage
it's
separation
lit.
has confirmed. There goes that MVAC engine. Stage 2. Crew-1 is now on their way to the International Space Station.
Now that stage 1 will be boosting
On
back.
the right side of your screen, you see Stage 2 continuing to burn. Over on the left-hand side is Stage 1 preparing for its return to Earth.
Currently on the left side, you can't make out much. It's a couple hours after sunset in Florida, but the grid fins have deployed on the first stage. The first stage is now unpowered, but with the velocity it had, it continues to coast up to an apogee before it begins to descend back into Earth's atmosphere. Now as we watch, maybe we'll see the lights of Florida or the eastern seaboard in the background, but otherwise there's not going to be much to see. On the right-hand
Kinda see
side,
here.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
you can hear the call out. Trajectory is nominal.
Nominal trajectory.
Good to hear.
And we've heard the call out Bermuda. That means Bermuda ground station has the signals from the second stage of the Dragon and Falcon 9.
We're still continuing as Stage
4
2
minutes,
burns
but
to listen.
no,
for
4
those
minutes
abort
before
zones.
launch
We are now
goes
in 2A through
forever.
2E to Echo,
And then once they
taking us up
launch,
over the northern Atlantic.
4 minutes is like quick.
Right now you can see the second stage engine glowing with the standard red that we have come to see over all these missions. Indicates everything's looking good. Power on the MVAC-D engine continues to run at 220,000 pounds of thrust in the vacuum of outer space.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
And trajectory nominal.
Nominal trajectory.
And we hear the reply from the crew acknowledging we have a nominal trajectory. Dragon made it to the Falcon 9 second stage, heading into the low Earth orbit, where Dragon will then separate and begin its trip the rest of the way to the space station.
We'll be looking for SECO, second stage engine cutoff, coming up at 8 minutes and 48 seconds after launch today, so about 3.5 minutes from now.
I kind of
Dragon
miss
and
them
Falcon
not
9,
showing the
second
timeline
stage,
like
currently
a
flying
traditional SpaceX launch.
2,979 meters per second.
Now, currently, the first stage has begun its descent. It is through apogee.
They kind of did
beginning to come back down.
for demo 2. They had some kind of timeline along the
Coming
side
up in another couple of minutes, we will have the entry burn
with all the
where
different
we begin to
options,
slow down the first stage.
or not options, but different stages and steps.
Copy. Nominal trajectory.
Another call out, another nominal trajectory, just what we love to hear.
That voice you're hearing on board Dragon, that's Commander Mike Hopkins speaking for our 4-person crew as they continue their journey now 6 minutes and 12 seconds after liftoff. Trajectory still nominal.
Leah, you can see on the indicator altitude.
You can tell that
kilometers.
there's two different views of this engine. They keep on switching back and forth between two different sides, of the engine. That way they can
We're a little under 1
be able
minute
to tell
from
that there's
the
no
ignition for the entry
no
burn on
issue
first stage.
with
And
one
we're about
side
2
or the
minutes
other
away.
or
SpaceX,
anything else.
Trajectory nominal.
Copy. Nominal trajectory.
Great news, now 7 minutes after launch. Second stage engine continues to burn, everything looking good. And we'll see that continue to burn for another 1 minute and about 38 seconds.
Right now on stage 2, the crew's getting about a little more than 2.5 G's of acceleration. First stage preparing to ignite for the entry
Stage 2
burn.
FTS is saved.
And are we landing?
And
This
we've
one?
got ignition of the entry burn, center engine, followed by the other 2 restart engines. First stage now getting ready to re-enter the Earth's
Is
atmosphere.
this landing on
This is
just
about
read the
29-second
instructions,
burn,
or
and
of
it's
course I still
designed to
love you?
slow the vehicle way down. We're going to shed about 70% of
forget.
the velocity of that dropping first stage by the time this landing burn completes. I should say by the time the entry burn completes, which is now over. First stage on target for the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Meanwhile, we're watching second stage getting close to getting into orbit.
That's right, we've got about 30
Stage
seconds
2 internal
more.
guidance.
Now just about 20 seconds more of stage 2 continuing to burn until we see second stage engine cutoff, or SECO. We'll coast for a few minutes afterward to allow the rates and motion to...
Roger,
And there-
Shannon.
There's that call for Shannon. That's Shannon, Ireland, an abort zone, but it looks like we continue smoothly to orbit today.
Invac shutdown.
And we've got shutdown of the second stage engine on time.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
Launch escape system is disarmed.
And SpaceX copies.
And Leah, the words
I'm
we
surprised
like
they
to hear,
waited so
nominal
long for
orbit insertion.
the disarm of that.
That's right, John. Nominal orbit insertion, as we mentioned, stage 2. Oh, looks like some action on stage 1.
Perfect landing as well, as per
And I believe
SpaceX
we've had
usual.
a touchdown on the drone ship.
We've got stage 1 has touchdown on the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. But now the more important news, second stage is in orbit, right where we want, right on time. And we're getting ready for our next major activity, which will be Dragon spacecraft separation. Now, currently on the second stage, we are essentially venting
This is
pressure,
as crazy as
purging
what
the engine out, making sure everything is quiet.
what
and
some of the other
preparation.
launches have been there at SpaceX.
Take a look.
Hawthorne.
That's inside Crew Dragon right now. Our Crew-1 crew now coasting in low Earth orbit,
Obviously,
still attached
not
to that
everyone
second
can join the
stage.
party.
In just a couple of minutes, we should see that second stage separate, and Crew Dragon will be flying free.
Leah, the mission timer shows 90 seconds to Dragon separation.
Currently, Dragon is flying at 27,000 kilometers an hour.
Wow. Uh-oh.
And we're plus 11 minutes since liftoff today. Waiting on that second stage separation, but as you can see, our astronauts from left to right, Shannon Walker, Victor Glover,
Something was
Mike
floating around
Hawkins,
there.
and Soichi Noguchi, now on their way to the International Space Station. First trip to space for Victor Glover.
Acquisition of signal in Newfoundland.
Yeah, you're in orbit. You're floating around.
The Newfoundland ground station is now receiving telemetry from Dragon. Rescue inside mission control.
Stop flipping around.
Teams continuing to monitor the vehicle. Now traveling at almost 27,000 kilometers
I'm sure they're
an hour.
already enjoying the less gravity, or should I say less force, being
Dragon separation.
now in orbit and the engine shut down. Still flying. I mean, going at 27 kilometers, 27,000 kilometers per hour.
And separation confirmed. You can see that second stage departing. Crew Dragon leaving it behind.
Separation confirmed.
Now 12 minutes, 25 seconds into today's flight. Our next thing we'll be looking for is nose cone deploy. Our hooks will start to open on the nose cone and reveal those forward thrusters underneath.
Well, they're in space, so everything's doing good so far. Now, of course, in not so much longer, I mean, they're just going to be waiting until they can get to the point where they do
13 minutes into
line up
today's
to
mission,
the
viewer
burn
on
into
the right-hand side of your screen coming from Crew Dragon. We had that
the
short
kind
look
of
at the second stage.
match speed
As it
and
departed, that second stage will burn up upon re-entry into Earth's atmosphere.
but they're out there.
Dragon SpaceX, we see nominal service section Draco checkouts and the unifier activation.
And SpaceX, this is Dragon. We copy all. We see the same.
Confirmation from teams on the ground and the crew. You can see them monitoring those 3 display panels, monitoring their journey to the International Space Station and where they are in the world right now, or over the world, I should say.
Well, we're in 14 minutes, 25 seconds since it was a great liftoff. Everything happened. We had a nominal insertion into low Earth orbit. You saw Dragon separate. We got the Draco checkouts were good. And right now we're hearing the nose cone hooks are opening up. Everything is happening right per the procedure. And we've got Crew-1 successfully on orbit. So with that, let's head over to our counterparts at Kennedy Space Center. Marie, how was that launch for you all there on the ground?
Oh my gosh,
geez.
John, it just took our breath away. I mean, we could just turn right around in our seats and watch. We got up away from the desk to get a better look, and then we actually could see the booster coming back down.
Yeah, that was outstanding, and I don't even know what to say. High five. We're like high-fiving through the shield here.
High five. My
whatever.
husband texted me a picture of my daughter watching liftoff. It was just, I'm emotional. Seeing that, and we went on the first attempt. How often does that
As
happen
it
in human
should.
space flight?
As it should.
I'm very happy. It has been a long day, but
It's because
just to be able to
SpaceX
stand
has
there and
done
actually
so
feel
much
the rocket pounding
perfect
and the air around you was just
the
it was just
Falcon
incredible. And
long
looking at the
before
light
all
too
this.
long, I couldn't see the MVAC ignition, so I still have spots in my eyes.
I was saying that bad things can't happen, but they've done a lot to prevent a lot of the issues that they had in the very first couple years of getting Falcons off the ground.
So he's officially
Especially
on his first space flight.
landing those boosters.
So Victor, Mike, Shannon, and Soichi are now on course to arrive at the International Space Station just tomorrow, Monday, November 16th, around 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to stay live on air for continuous live coverage along their entire ride to station. Though our coverage here at Kennedy Space Center will conclude, we're going to turn it over to the teams in Hawthorne and Houston to take us through the next phases of the Crew-1 mission, all the way through hatch opening and a welcome ceremony for the crew.
Kennedy Space Station.
Now, for those of you watching online,
I mean, that's
via
it.
YouTube,
There's
take a look
nothing
at the
much more they can
below
do.
the video. There you'll find the new
It's off
link
the ground,
for our
it's in
Crew-1
space.
rendezvous phase. And
It's
we'll
up
be
to mission
continuing live
controls.
coverage at that new location shortly.
Of course, you
But
know,
if
it's a
you're
joint
watching on
mission
NASA TV, like
between
my parents,
SpaceX
you won't notice a
being
thing, and
their
your coverage will
vehicle
continue.
That's
and
right.
NASA.
And as you follow along, we also invite you to tune into a post-launch news conference at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, right here on NASA TV, where NASA and SpaceX will take questions live. And in addition to NASA TV, of course, you can always follow along on Twitter at @NASA and NASA.gov for continuous mission updates. We thank you all so much for watching. To all of our commentators, Nicole, special thanks to you
My
for being
pleasure,
here.
ladies. Let's do it again.
Oh, please, yes. Well, we'd love to have you back. Here now are some highlights from the incredible journey that's just begun. First live look inside the suit-up room. Crew Dragon Commander Mike Hopkins was born in Lebanon, Missouri.
Pilot Victor Glover is a native of Pomona, California.
And Mission Specialist Shannon Walker is from Houston, Texas.
Mission Specialist Soichi Noguchi is from Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan.
Here they come, walking down the hall.
Everyone's looking quite peppy there.
Yeah, so cool. They're looking for people. They're looking for the people that have helped them all along the way, too, and wanting to make eye contact.
Here they come. The Crew-1 astronauts now begin.
So I didn't see a lot of this earlier today. I was doing other stuff, but
Mission to the International Space Station.
This is Core on Countdown 1 for timeline. The crew is departing for the pad on schedule.
This is chase car, so you can be along with the crew every step of the way.
It's kind of like the pre-flight, right? The walk around your vehicle before you get in and fly.
I love this shot.
Yeah.
You know, when this was being designed, it was definitely a forward-thinking design.
And you can see on your screen the crew beginning the ingress process already.
They are checking to make sure the suits are ready. They're helping them connect the umbilicals. They're buckling them in.
And Dragon SpaceX hatch is closed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
And resilience rises. Not even gravity contains humanity when we explore as one for all. That's the word we want to hear. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
all right. So that's it for the time being here. So I'm gonna also end my stream, but man, it's always fun to watch. And I did watch Crew 2 or Demo 2 here in the Tesla, and just the sound that you get from launching a Falcon 9, and when you really get the bass from those 9 engines, it's almost like you're there. I didn't turn it up as loud as what I did for demo too, but it's definitely amazing. So but yep, that's gonna be it for now. I mean, that was straight from SpaceX's channel, and there's likely more over at NASA. I even have NASA on here. I probably do, but whoever's stopped by, thank you very much, and hopefully everyone has a good rest of the night, and the Crew-1 astronauts get to the International Space Station on time, and there's no problems while there or on the way back. So good to see. Really good to see. Alright. See ya.